Hi, so funny story, I did actually record the gameplay of the whole Warmind campaign so I could use bits for this video, but I was using a new memory card and didn't realise that it wasn't formatted right, so none of that footage is actually usable, so I just hopped in the game just to get some Crucible gameplay for the background of this video. I've not played Crucible in a while, so forgive the bad gameplay, but at least there's something to watch, and you can be sure there's no spoilers for the Warmind campaign. Okay, onwards with the video. What's up everyone, welcome back to Smith Does Games. The second DLC for Destiny 2, called The Warmind, came out yesterday, and I spent the evening playing through all the campaign content. I've spent about probably 4 to 5 hours with the game now, and so I just thought I'd give you my thoughts on the DLC, where I think the game's at right now, and whether this is worth coming back into if you're a lapsed Destiny player. And so right off the bat, for a very quick take, I think this DLC is better than Curse of Osiris. I think Curse of Osiris was actually really quite bad. It didn't capture me at all. And this I definitely enjoyed a little bit more. Now, a lot of people are wondering whether Warmind is going to be, the thing to bring everyone back to Destiny. Is it going to set everything right? Now, Destiny 2 has myriad problems, which I'm not going to get into here because honestly, they're well publicized, they're well known. I don't really want to spend my time just being super negative and just like ragging on a game which everybody knows is having some issues. And a lot of people are wondering whether Warmind is going to fix all those issues and kind of make Destiny 2 worth playing in the same way that kind of Destiny 1 was in its sort of final year. And I kind of just would say temper your expectations on that a bit. There's a lot of kind of talk around Destiny 2 from kind of preview events and kind of insider info, which is suggesting that maybe the September update, which the community is kind of calling the Taken Queen, that's likely to be the big game changer. So this is your pretty typical standard Destiny DLC fare. You've got a campaign which is going to take you about 3 hours to run through, probably, maybe 3 to 4. And then with that, there's like a new mode. And obviously, we've got a new planet. There's Mars to explore. Now, that's actually a good place to start, I suppose. Mars is a little bit disappointing to me, actually, just because it's a very small location. It's smaller than Mars on Destiny 1 was, and it's better than Mercury for sure. Mercury, I don't really see any point in really going there. It's pretty dreadful, I think, but Mars is better than that, at least. So obviously with the DLC they've also introduced this new enemy type, which is the Frozen Hive, and I would have liked to have seen more ice on Mars. There's some sort of like icy, snowy parts because it's like the polar ice caps, whatever. But honestly, it looks very similar to the old Mars from Destiny 1, which is, I guess it's still Mars, but I would have liked to have seen a slightly different kind of approach, like a completely different environment. Those parts of it that are snowy are a little bit more interesting. I mean, it's basically just Mars with some snow on, but it just makes it a little bit more interesting. The Frozen Hive themselves, I honestly can't tell much of a difference between the old Hive and this new Frozen Hive. Like, when Taken King came out in Destiny 1, there were a lot of people complaining about how the new enemy was actually just a reskin of all the old enemies, but I don't think that was the case with the Taken, because what they did was they completely changed how they would fight. And yes, okay, they just looked like a kind of a colour swap on old enemy types, but they actually did behave differently. These new Frozen Hive behave exactly the same way. They fight almost exactly the same way as the old Hive did. Now, that's not to say I don't like the Hive. I think the Hive are alright. I think they are quite an atmospheric element to the game. I like when the thralls scream before they kind of do their big thrall rush at you. You don't necessarily know where it's coming from and that kind of thing. And thralls in general are pretty fun just to mow down. But like, it really is just the Hive again, but when you kill them, they kind of shatter into ice. It's a pretty cool effect, but it's, like I say, don't set your expectations too high with this, because it is your kind of smaller House of Wolves style DLC sort of size. So yeah, you got your campaign, which is going to take you about 3 hours to run through. Now, the story's fine, it's better than Curse of Osiris. They brought Anna Bray in, and as a character, they give her a better treatment than they did with Osiris, but it's still not perfect. I will say that some of the bosses in this DLC are pretty cool. The final two, especially, the final two story missions are basically 2 new strikes, and the bosses you fight at the end of each of those are actually really cool, I thought. The final one, the fight was perhaps a bit anticlimactic, but the boss itself was pretty cool. The one before that, I thought there was a fairly, interesting mechanic to the fight. It made it a little bit better than just shooting a crit spot over and over and over again. I won't give any spoilers I won't be showing any of the bosses in the footage. I'll just kind of try and keep it as spoiler free as possible. It was a little bit of a shame, I think, that those 2 bosses were just relegated to kind of one fight strike bosses. I think there was enough in there. They were interesting enough that they probably could have fleshed out, maybe even been raid bosses or something. But, you know, it's better that they're at least decent strike bosses than not. So that I had a decent amount of fun with. And the design, a lot of the hive stuff, I find the design of all the hive stuff quite cool. You know, when you're kind of going right into the depths of Mars and it's all, you know, grown over with all the hive stuff. I like that. I think that's pretty cool. But like I say, it's a bit disappointing not to see a new enemy type. But I don't know. I get the feeling a lot of this DLC was done before, or at least was in progress before the game really kind of thought about hitting the reset button, which is, I think, where Bungie are now. One of their designers, I think like one of their lead developers or something, in response to somebody, you know, just kind of like almost trolling on Twitter, actually responded and said, like, we know we're letting you down, we've let you down so far, but we are trying to make changes, etc., etc. And I do think they're trying to be a bit more open about the fact that they recognise that the game is not what it should be. They're trying to turn it around, which is good to see. So there's also a new mode, a new like horde mode type thing, which is a little bit like Archon's Forge in the sense that it is like a public event which you know trigger, anybody in the area can come and join. It's, I think, 7 waves, I think I read somewhere. It's like a wave-based horde mode. I have yet to see anybody get past the first level because its recommended power is 380. So the new cap is 380, the new level cap is 30, and its recommended power is max, and nobody's there yet. I took part in it once, and I mean, yeah, it's really hard at the moment. You know, people probably aren't going to be able to do it until they're hitting the sort of 360, 370 levels, I'd have thought at least. I've not seen anybody get past the first level, but that's pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty good to have an actual horde mode in Destiny. But I think the more important changes with these updates is actually the kind of quality of life stuff, and they're like the sandbox, more systemic changes they bring in with the game. Now, yes, okay, the new campaign and all that, the new content, the new modes, those are things that people are going to want to know about, and they're kind of the what they sell you. And from that front, I think if you're really into Destiny, you're probably going to buy this anyway. If you are a lapsed Destiny fan, I don't know that there's enough in this DLC purely to get you to come back. It really depends on how negatively you feel about the game. I think I am somebody who, by the end of Destiny 1, I was a big fan of that game. I really liked where it was at in their year 3, and I very much enjoyed the time I spent with Destiny 2, actually. I mean, I ran through the campaign a few times. I thought the campaign was decent. This is something that I see, there's like a bit of revisionism going on, because when Destiny 2 came out, everybody was going nuts for the campaign. A lot of the missions were really cool, a lot of the set pieces were great. And now people look back and they kind of rag on the campaign a little bit and make out like it sucked. But honestly, I think the end game for when Destiny 2 came out, and I mean, probably still, the end game now is not where it should be. Like, it's not particularly good. But I did enjoy my time with the campaign. So I am somebody that wants Destiny 2 to get to where Destiny 1 was or beyond. Like, I want this game to be good. And so I am willing to give it a chance when they do implement changes, and I'm hopeful that I'm going to enjoy it. If you're somebody who's really sour on Destiny 2, this update is not going to be enough, I don't think, to bring you back. But if you're like me and you're quite willing to, and you want to see the game succeed and get better, then you might find some stuff in this update that's worth doing. I mean, it's like 17 quid, and for that, yes, it is pretty short. But actually, after doing all the campaign stuff, there's some sort of secrets hidden around Mars. There's these sort of prism-like structure things, like shells, which say something about an override frequency. There's a weapon which comes with a quest with it, which I assume is going to go on to become an exotic quest for the sleeper stimulant. If you look at the design of the weapon and its perks, I mean, it's very clearly like a hand cannon version of sleeper stimulant. There's certain things to find in Mars, similar to, I think there's 45 of them on the patrol destination, which is kind of a bit like your Siva fragments or calcified fragments from Destiny 1, and that is, I assume, probably going to lead to another exotic quest or something. So there's stuff in there which we didn't really get with Curse of Osiris, and in a way didn't get with actually the base Destiny 2 game. And so even after completing that stuff, I've played about 5 hours of it now, and my light level's only at about 340, so I've got another like 40 power levels to go, and there's other stuff to go and do. So I think you're safely going to get a decent amount of hours out of this, which means that really, for 17 quid, I don't think the trade-off's too poor. I would say that Curse of Osiris was on the kind of unacceptable end of that. I would say this is perhaps not incredible value for money, but it's acceptable. But like I say, I actually think that the more important changes with this update are the more systemic changes they've made to the sandbox. Chiefly among those would be the exotic changes. They've reworked a lot of the exotic weapons to try and make them feel more exotic, and it has honestly worked. I mean, it's actually quite amazing how a small change to a group of weapons can make the game feel so much more fun to play. Probably the best example of this would be Graviton Lance. Now, that was that's the pulse rifle, which effectively it just had like a high-powered final shot in the 3-round burst. Now, they have altered this almost completely, so it's now a 2-round burst. The reason being, it makes the final shot easier to land. It now, when you kill an enemy using Graviton Lance, they now explode into a void explosion with smaller seeker explosions that then kind of like seek out enemies near them and blow them up as well. And honestly, it is so much fun. It makes Graviton Lance completely different to use. It's probably my favourite exotic in the game at the moment, just for kind of clearing ads. And it's a lot of fun. And they've done this with a lot of other exotics. None of them, I don't think, have undergone quite such a seismic shift as Graviton Lance. I mean, it feels like a different gun. But a lot of them, they have basically just upped the benefits of those weapons. Something like Sweet Business, you've got a much larger magazine now and stuff like that. And just small tweaks like that make the game so much more fun to play, that actually all your older content from your base game and stuff like that is going to be more enjoyable. But they've got like Nightfall changes, they've made changes to heroic strikes and all sorts of things like that. And so that, coupled with the new exotic weapons, the reworks there, I think is going to give the game a bit of a breath of new life. It's not going to make it to the point where you're going to want to be grinding this game all the time like maybe you did Year 3 Destiny 1. So I think where I fall on this DLC is that it's okay. It is not the fix that Destiny 2 needs, but it is a step in the right direction. And I think if you want to get back involved with some Destiny 2, I think it is worth picking up. I am enjoying it, and I finished the campaign last night, and I am motivated to go back to the game even after doing that, which is something I couldn't say with Curse of Osiris at all. So that's a definite improvement. Now, there is also some changes to the Crucible. They're introducing competitive ranks, which is a fantastic change, in my opinion. I think there was a lot of the complaints about the Crucible in Destiny 2 came from the fact that they took away a lot of the fun. You didn't feel quite so powerful because it seemed like they were focusing too much on kind of like balance and competition. And I do agree with that. I actually don't think that's necessarily a negative thing on its own when you have a competitive playlist. I think the casual playlist could definitely do with some more kind of, fun, lower time to kill, that kind of thing. But I think actually the balance of the game was all right for a competitive playlist. But if you're going to have that, you need a reason to play it. And I think a competitive rank is a good reason for people to play it. And so I'm really hopeful that will kind of rejuvenate the Crucible scene slightly. I'm quite interested to get involved and see how that all plays. I haven't done any Crucible stuff yet. I'll probably make another video on the Crucible stuff. I also haven't got any of the new exotics. There's still quite a lot of stuff for me to go out and explore and to try and work out and to get. And I'm actually excited to go and do that for the first time since probably a month after Destiny 2 launched. So, like I say, it's a step in the right direction. It is not the be-all, end-all fix. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Have you played the DLC? What are you thinking about it? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks very much. Bye.